Mayor Brandon Johnson gets called out. He's the mayor of Chicago, Illinois. What a scum. A homeless guy who's been arrested over 50 times, burned someone on the train, set them on fire. That's what happens with his no cash bail, go easy on crime. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we eviscerate the Democrats and defend the Republican Party, and especially Donald Trump. Guys, he's having an incredible week. His threat against those military Democrats for conspiracy and sedition and treason. Instantly, everyone's going, Epstein who? So he finally got his way and cleared out the news cycle. Here's the news on Pritzker and Mayor Brandon.
Welcome back. A horrifying crime in Chicago to tell you about. A man with a long, violent criminal history is facing a federal terrorism charge after police say he went up to a 26-year-old woman who was riding the train in the city. He doused her with gasoline and then lit her on fire. The woman...
Again? Remember when the goon in New York now under Mamdani, but Alvin Bragg's catch and release program, the guy in New York that burned a woman on the subway? Same thing in Chicago. He actually makes me long for our special girl, Lori Lightfoot, that we used to do many videos on. And I was thrilled to see Brandon Johnson replace her. I'm not thrilled now. I'll bet under Lori Lightfoot, well, there probably would be way more people burning on their public transit.
Is still in the ICU right now. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom.
Pray for that 27-year-old gal that was set on fire in the hospital right now.
I'm Jillian Turner-Griff. It's great to be with you. This is a horror show.
It's great to be with you.
It's hard to
Chicago's a horror show.
It's hard to talk about this because it's so bad. Dana and Bill are off today. We're tackling it because the terrifying train attack sparking outrage over the growing danger on Chicago mass transit. Flames engulfing the woman's body, leaving her in critical condition with severe burns.
Despite a long rap sheet, some of the incidents reportedly going back all the way to the early 90s. This guy...
Okay, look at all these mug shots going all the way back to the 90s. He's been arrested 50 times. Why is it that if I got arrested just once, they'd put me away for life? And then this guy basically gets to live a life of violent crime, as if it's a privilege, but he gets away with it. 50 arrests. This is how we treat our hardened criminals, with kid gloves in Chicago. Get away with it. He knows he's going to get a hand slap, and now it's going to end under Trump with daddy in charge.
Back out on the street, federal officials saying he could ultimately face life in prison now.
Well, and why should he deserve to live? This guy's got to be put to death by our courts, by our law of the land, if it stands for anything.
Lawrence Reed had no business being on the streets, given his violent criminal history and his pending criminal cases. Reed had plenty of second chances by the criminal justice system, and as a result, you have an innocent victim in the hospital fighting for her life.
Why did the justice system in Chicago not take this guy off the streets? This is what I mean by an innocent woman is in the hospital fighting for her life because Democrats are compassionate. Now, is that Jesus? Is that Jesus' compassion? Golda Meir used to say, if you're compassionate to the cruel, you'll be cruel to the compassionate.
Because of the swift action of CPD, ATF, and our law enforcement partners, there will be no other chances for Mr. Reed.
Okay, Mr. Reed is out of chances. I almost feel sorry for him because he'd go, well, wait, they trained me that every time I commit a crime, I get away with it. And now they're going to punish me. He goes, now you're out of chances. The arsonist is the most surprised of anyone that he ran out of chances. I'll bet in the court case, he's going to go in sobbing, begging for mercy. Please, this time, I swear, number 51st time, I swear I'm innocent. Now, here's Obama-appointed judge Sarah Ellis tried to impose enforcement rules on ICE agents in Illinois. This is an Obama judge trying to supersede Trump's command of putting ICE agents in there. So this is Judge Sarah Ellis tried to impose enforcement rules on the ICE agents, and federal appeals court just overturned her ruling. That's an Obama judge who who was acting against her own law. Hit that like button if you stand with ICE. They say.
Following breaking developments in the immigration enforcement crackdown, an appeals court has temporarily blocked a judge's order restricting the use of force by federal agents against protesters and journalists. The panel of 3 judges saying today Judge Sarah Ellis's order was overbroad and resembles a federal regulation. Following breaking.
So ICE agents can go after these protesters. That was yet another attempt to block the Trump agenda. Here's Rabbi happening now outside of Park East Synagogue in New York. Anti-Semites. Now, this is what I mean by this is real crime, real criminals that Alvin Bragg won't go after, that the Brandon Johnsons of the world won't go after, Pritzker won't go after. They go to a synagogue and are chanting for Intifada, global intifada. The genocide of Jews is what it is. That's what they're chanting, not a crime. The rabbi of the synagogue is a Holocaust survivor who remembers vividly the horrors of Kristallnacht. Now, the survivor, the Democrats claim, are going to protect him and that Trump is the Nazi and that Trump is anti-Jew. Now he gets to see the same human material that shattered the glass of the synagogues in Berlin and Vienna in 1938 outside his own synagogue. This is not about Gaza, has never been about Gaza. This is an attack on the Jewish people. Watch this. Intifada. It's Mom Donnie's New York. We already showed you Mom Donnie video yesterday. Brooklyn, out of Palestine. You know, there's times when America is just baffling to me, but New York, these Democrat states, they're anti-Jew. There was a 27-year-old woman that got burned on that train in Chicago. The Democrat says they're the pro-women party, and they won't protect a 27-year-old woman from being had gasoline thrown on her and set on fire by a guy who'd been arrested 50 times. Are they going to run on this? I got an idea. Axelrod, let's run on that as a campaign. Barack Obama, soft on crime. Meanwhile, this is posted by Awesome Jew. Breaking, Republicans have flipped a heavily Democratic suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, electing the first female Orthodox Jewish mayor in U.S. history. And Democrats go insane over this. They hate her. Remember how they're the pro-woman party? They hate her because she's a Jewess and a Republican. First Orthodox Jew. They hate Jews, other people's religions, because they're not Muslims. If they're not a socialist Muslim, Democrats don't like their religion. And if they're a woman, you can be a socialist Muslim man and they'll treat you like your Bono, which they do to Mom Donnie, and a Jewish Orthodox woman. None of them are championing this as amazing, groundbreaking. Remember Michelle Obama? Amazing, groundbreaking. Kamala Harris, amazing, groundbreaking. Barack Obama, he never said to men, white liberals, you know, you have a woman problem. That's why you won't vote for this American Jewess. Here's Right Angle News Network breaking. It's been revealed that Somalians, I got to clarify that in a second, Somalians in Minnesota have been using fraudulent autism Medicare claims. By the way, guys, call Chapter. That phone number's in the first video. They've been fraudulent autism Medicare claims. Do you realize what this is? Somalians, and let's clarify this. It's not Somalians, the race. It's Muslims. The Somalians are Muslims that practice over a 90% clitoridectomy rate, removing a girl's hoo-hoo when she's a teenager in Somalia, and they want to bring that culture here to America. In Minnesota, these are Muslims. They're using fraudulent autism Medicare claims to fund the Somali terror group Al-Shabaab. So it's not Somali terror group, it's a terror group, Al-Shabaab, Muslim radicals, with claims raising from $3 million in 2018 to $399 million. Thank you. Everyone in Minnesota, was that Tim Walz? In 2023, they learned to get it to work in 2018 with $3 million. Then they made $400 million in 20. Basically, they all said, oh, we all have autism. And they got the free money, effectively making Minnesota taxpayers the group's largest funders. This came from Minnesota taxpayers. Autism providers funding rises sharply. Thank you, Democrats. You know, they don't believe in any laws. They have no taste, no standards. You realize by funding all of these Muslim fake autism claims, they remove the money to pay for real autism claims. Do you realize that? That's how cruel they are. I have friends in San Diego who have an autistic kid, and they get state funding. They need it. Helps with housing, helps with counseling, helps with training, helps with his education, helps with everything. Really has been a blessing to that family. And you have all these guys draining money out of that system, Democrat Muslims. Okay, now here's Stephen Miller on why the Democrats do this. It's their values. They don't believe in any rule of law or constitution or anything.
They don't believe in systems. They don't believe in rules. They don't believe in laws. They believe in whatever keeps them in power.
True.
And if what they think keeps them in power is a military insurrection or a CIA insurrection, that's what they support. But if in a different setting, if, say, a soldier doesn't want to take the COVID vaccine, then they represent a threat to order in their view, and that person must be crushed and deprived of employment, deprived of opportunity.
True.
If a Democrat, for example, complains about election integrity, that person's a hero. If a Republican complains of election integrity, that person's to be jailed and incarcerated for life.
He's an insurrectionist.
This is the moment that we're in. This is what we're dealing with. So when we say that Democrats are communists, we don't just mean that, well, they believe in the state control of property. We mean they've adopted a method of thinking.
And by the way, that communist method of thinking, to my people who haven't accepted the Lord Jesus Christ for their payment for their sins, the communist method of thinking, number one, first and foremost, is atheistic. That's where it came from. That doesn't make all atheists communists, but I'm just telling you, the outflow of that political philosophy is of atheism. The political philosophy is communism, is what comes out. So keep thinking. Maybe the Holy Spirit's tugging at your heart. Maybe you're feeling convicted for a sin that you cannot pay for. I know someone who can pay. It's the only one who can pay for it, because your guilt is not against the rocks and the materials and the universe and the cosmos and the comets and the moons and the molecules. Your sin is against a divine being that made you. So only he can pay for your sin.
In which any use of force is justified for their end state of power and control. So they become a third world party, and we have to internalize that. We're not dealing with the old Democratic Party. We're dealing with a third world party.
Yeah. Well said, Stephen Miller. This is a third world Democrat party. Now, here's Ambassador Mike Waltz. This is probably my favorite story of the day. This touches me really deep. Here's Rolling Stone down here. This news involves Nicki Minaj, the near pornographic rap star. The Rolling Stone. Now, she went out and defended Nigerian Christians, and the Rolling Stone says Nicki Minaj spreads misleading information at the United Nations. Nicki Minaj was invited to the United Nations to speak on behalf of Nigerian Christians. Here's CBS News with an accurate headline: 2 killed in church attack in Nigeria, days after dozens of schoolgirls abducted. It's wrong, by the way, to impugn their character by calling them Nigerian, because Nigerians are Christians. And they're also Muslims. So it's not 2 killed in church attack in Nigeria, 2 Christians killed by Muslims in Nigeria in a church, days after dozens of Christian schoolgirls were abducted by Muslims. Let's be clear. Not one thing about that is exaggerated at all. Those are the clear facts. I might be the only person on the entire internet and in all of media to report that truth. It's a fact. That's a truth. I'm the only one reporting it. Rolling Stones, this is Ambassador Mike Waltz of the Trump administration. Rolling Stone must immediately retract their egregious headline. Mere hours after Nicki Minaj boldly addressed the UN yesterday, a UN full of Muslims, on this she probably is taking her life in her hands, of this very crisis. 2 innocent Christians were brutally murdered in yet another heinous terrorist attack in Nigeria. This after 25 schoolgirls were kidnapped just days before. The persecution of Christians in Nigeria is an undeniable and escalating horror, and it's utterly reprehensible that the mainstream media persists in downplaying and dismissing this atrocity. That's why we're not downplaying it. I'm putting this on steroids. I'm blasting it out. We have to get this show out to everyone to spread the news because the media won't spread it. They're covering up for Muslim violence, abducting young girls while the Democrat Party claims to be the party of young girls. I am grateful for Nikki's courage in lending her powerful voice to the voiceless on the global stage. The Trump administration remains steadfast in its commitment to defending religious freedom for Christians everywhere. The barbaric violence must end now. That's why Trump threatened them. Let's look at a little clip of Nicki Minaj addressing the UN here. I thought this was beautiful. Look how she normally, again, she's very foul and half naked all the time. But you know what? Jesus ate with prostitutes and tax collectors, not to endorse their prostitution. Don't be silly. He saw in their heart and saw someone admitting that they were not perfect. The woman begging at the table, the Samaritan woman. It's an attitude. She's humble here. God will use a foul rap star to defend his church over all of these woke American wussified pastors that will not defend Nigerian Christians. You bet he'll use a pornographic rap star to defend his people.
Too many places. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart, and entire communities live in fear constantly, simply because of how they pray.
I want you to go to your Christian radio station. Why aren't any of those people at the UN defending Nigerian Christians? All these country music stars, Christian rock stars, American pastors, all them. Where's the big, major, famous spokesperson? You know the most famous person we could find to defend the Nigerians, Christians? Nicki Minaj.
Sadly, this problem is not only a growing problem in Nigeria, but also in so many other countries across the world, and it demands urgent action. And I want to be clear. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides or dividing people.
Right.
It is about uniting humanity. Nigeria is a beautiful nation with deep faith traditions and lots of beautiful barbs that I can't wait to see. When one's church, mosque, or place of worship is destroyed, everyone's heart should break just a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not the mosques ever being destroyed. It's the churches and synagogues. Here she is. This was a funny clip I found. This is Nicki Minaj. Posted this on Twitter. She goes, "Bobs, we did it." Ambassador Mike Waltz, grateful to Nicki Minaj for standing with me today at the UN against the persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Ambassador Mike Waltz here with the amazing Queen of Rap, Nicki Minaj, and I just can't be more thankful to you for putting your spotlight on the persecution, the killing, the devastation that's going on with Christians in Nigeria.
I wanted to ask Ambassador Mike Waltz, hey, what's your favorite Nicki Minaj song? I want him to sing a few lyrics.
President called it out. Nicki, you've called it out, and then we invited you here to the UN to learn more and to see what we can do to stop this genocide.
I think this is lovely. I like it when these are big, famous people. This doesn't gain her anything. She's lending her credibility. I mean, not credibility. She's lending her fame and her marketing to an important issue. God bless her. May she prosper. May her next album not have so many F words in it. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel. This individual and her family allegedly stole money from FEMA and then laundered it through friends for her own personal benefit, including her campaign accounts. Today, the FBI and partners at the Justice Department took action. No one's above the law. Here's Bill Melugan. DOJ charges Congresswoman Sheila Serfilis McCormick, Democrat, Florida. There's a shocker. Democrat, with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds, just like the Muslims stealing from the autistic kids. Here's Democrats. Congresswoman stealing from FEMA funds, laundering the proceeds, and then using the money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. She faces up to 53 years in prison if convicted. The Department of Justice, thank you, Pam Bondi. This gal, you go to jail. These Democrats, guys, there's just no floor with them. And speaking of no floor, well, I think we did. I think we just found the floor. It's Chuck Schumer.
Let's be clear. The President of the United States has called for the execution of members of Congress.
Let's be clear. I always like when a Democrat says, let's be clear. They never mean it. Let's be clear. Transparent. Is that clear enough? For Congress. He threatened them. No, the Constitution actually threatens them if they commit treason, which they did in telling military people to disobey. What they said was unlawful orders, but what they really meant was President Trump orders. And they walk around playing dumb going, we don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean we were telling them to disobey the president? They were all Democrats.
No president has ever stooped that low. No president has ever encouraged violence the way this president has.
Actually, I think George Washington got some people on treason. Lincoln probably did too.
Every office holder, and where the hell are the Republicans, should speak out against what he has done now.
Oh, what happened to the Epstein files, Schumer? I thought we were going to push the Epstein files from now till Judgment Day. Till the second coming. Where's the Epstein files now? This is a Trump move. Trump does the all caps death penalty for them, for the people that are treasonous. And suddenly all the news media is right on the Trump plan. So I approve of this. I think it's great. I just want to ask Chuck, can we go back and talk about Epstein files some more? Let's talk about Epstein again. Trump owns the media. That's how you know he's winning. He manipulated them. They stepped right into it, and I think it's great. Pray for Nicki Minaj. Pray for the Christians being persecuted in Nigeria by Muslims. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.